Apenas. Ah. Hello? Yes, you can hear me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rocket, the home of fintech and sustainable innovations, to the home where great ideas, inspiring people, and newest technologies meet for the better future. And here today we are to discuss the importance of digital transformation for sustainability. And if you are here already, you probably will agree with me that digital technologies can revolutionize how we live, how we work, and can play the major role in sustainability, in achieving sustainability goals. And just to tell you how important is that, I have few numbers, so I want to tell you them. Global spending on digital transformation is expected to reach about $7 trillion by the end of this year. 97% of executives say that digital transformation will disrupt the industry. 90% of businesses say that digital transformation is critical to their future success. And 63% of businesses say that digital transformation has helped them to reduce their cost. Data by McKinsey. So you see how much it can be done. And today I would like to invite Guel Grootart, Cloud and Managed Services Director from Devoteam, to say a few words. Guel?
Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. I'm very proud to be here today because we're not going to talk a lot about IT. And IT is my job, so if I can do something else than IT, it's perfect. And we have a great momentum here. I think if I have good information, that it's also the Sustainable Week in Lithuania this week, right? So I think that this discussion that we will have with, of course, Jason and Hervé from our side, but also people from Google, people from government, and so on. So we have a great momentum to share a couple of things and input from our side. I don't want to tell too much. I think let's take advantage of the experts here and let's share about what we can do to make a concrete, sustainable digital transformation. Thanks to all of you. And Hervé, may the force be with you.
So without further ado, I would like to invite Eimantas Norkūnas, IT advisor at the Ministry of Environment of Republic of Lithuania, to say a few words.
I'll say a few words, but all politics lie. So, welcome everyone, and nice to see you. I represent government, but I used to be in startup sector. So I used to be with the jumper, sneakers, or even flip flops. Now a change in the clothes, but not in the mindset. So really glad I met Darius. Really interesting, warm, nice guy. Even though it happened only a few months, but it seems that I know him for a couple of years. So like today, as I told, is like sustainable week, the week of sustainability, and this event happens. But I have suspicion that it's coincidence, but that's fine. And it means that this event would happen anyway. But what else is coincidence? That's IT is sustainable, and because we used to be IT guys, and now we are sustainability experts. Because what is IT? It's the main goal of IT, one of the main goals is efficiency. And sustainability, one of the main attributes, is also efficiency. So, but what is efficiency for us? It might be like a different understanding. And I like have one example. I came to the government, and some guys told me like, we have really nice, comfortable, efficient system. You can buy various permits there. And I looked like, yeah, it looks nice, quite well. And later we had to move it to another data center. And I told guys, why we're so slow? Why it took so much time? And we told, wow, it's like, you didn't know, it's like 24 servers and still counting. So like, well, why? Why do we need so? And we just lifted up all the documents, and we see that 10 years ago, we got the European Union money. We just someone just wrote that we need 500,000 euros for our infrastructure of the system. Because more you pay, better you get, I think someone thought. And so they just build an infrastructure for 500,000 euros for, I know, similar website, a simple website. and why I really admire cloud, because it would not be possible to do it on the cloud, because in cloud you pay for what you use, and here you just have infrastructure. After 10 years you'll buy another one, and no one will take care, and like no one cares. So that's what we do. That's what we change. And once again, I really glad to see. That's why I admire cloud, and what I'm really glad to see you. A lot of people that came here to Vilnius to see it. A nice, beautiful autumn. And once again, thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Eimantas. Don't run away, because we're still gonna have a panel discussion at the end of presentations. And now I would like to invite Hervé Dumas from Devoteam. Here's your clicker. Yes.
Thank you. Hello. How are you? Fine. Yeah. That's good. That's good. So I'm the first guy to use this thing. So I will try to do my best. So this one is our program. So intro is done. Thank you very much. And we will have a three part to share with you, and hopefully at the end to interact, to network with you at the end of the session around this beautiful ambition association regarding sustainability and digital. That's good. So I'm Hervé. I'm working at Devoteam on the sustainability subject to make and to build with all the components of Devoteam, the expertise, meaningful offers and capability to support efficiently and with purpose our client. So let's talk about this subject, sustainable IT and call for action. And for the movie fan, you may know that the world is divided in two categories. And I propose a kind of remake of that, and it's coming from my industrial culture maybe. The session and the meeting that start with data and figures, and the other one. And I think that it's a good ritual, it's a good practice to start with data. What an introduction. The digital world, we are living all together in a digital world. That's really fantastic in terms of performance, in terms of availability. It's always here. It's always on. Even if you are on the move, you can work from anywhere, almost from any device, at any time. It's really fantastic and it's really impressive. But there is an associated impact. So currently, another way to see this digital world is to see through some environmental dimension. Starting by the energy and the associated greenhouse gas emission, it is a very good proxy. So currently, the order of magnitude for the digital world is around 4% of greenhouse gas emission. Okay, maybe not that high, but the alert is coming from the right side. The energy consumption annual growth. And that's the case for the last 10 years, and it is all the projection, estimation for the years to come, meaning this decade, we are living in this 2020 to 2030 decade, and we know that during this decade, we have some fantastic challenges to solve, starting by, in Europe, being able to divide roughly by 2 the greenhouse gas emission. And you can see that through this percentage, is exactly the opposite as the climate commitment. Exactly the opposite. It means it is an exponential growth, and it's doubling every 10 years. So as a summary, the current trend is not sustainable. So it's part of the challenge, and it is a very interesting one, very interesting one. It's not sustainable not only on energy, but also on raw materials. I remind you that digital is not virtual. Dematerialization is materialized with other resources, like metals, like water. You need a lot of water for digital world. And electricity, of course. And you know that electricity is part of the challenge of the energy transition to have low carbon electricity in Europe, including for this digital world. So there is a kind of imperative, but that must be seen as an opportunity. A great opportunity to combine linked, so we have seen on the left the current trend of the evolution of greenhouse gas emission and associated to that, the resource consumption, etc. There is also in Europe something really visible at European level and also at country level, the evolution of regulation, including the IT sector. So, double opportunity for CIOs, CTOs, IT leaders. Why? Because it's an opportunity for them to modernize and to onboard their own vision and roadmap in terms of information system and digital services they have to deliver for their business function, for their support function, for all their stakeholders. And to answer also to something that is a very strong emerging needs regarding the CSR, the ESG capabilities within their own organization, not only to report, but also to act and to help all the other functions within their organization to be more sustainable. So the two sides of the same coin. And for that, our conviction at Devoteam is that you need to be strong at tech. You need to know how to deliver today's technology in a very, very efficient and optimized way to avoid this overconsumption and the continuous increase of digital impact. So this is a way to represent these two sides, but with a common ambition. The common thing is sustainable IT. It must be transversal, it must be everywhere, including for IT for sustainability. It is not because we are working on subjects that are really fantastic to optimize energy or supply chain or whatever, to optimize something through digital capabilities, that the impact of the digital must not be taken into account because it is not a magic wand. So it's very important, and it's the reason why we put that at the heart, at the core of our ambition to support not only the so-called digital transformation that is necessary for a lot, or almost all on every sector, but to support sustainable digital transformation and to have this meaningful approach. And for that, what we propose, based on our analysis and based on our knowledge on this subject, is a structure framework that allow to work with a client in a given context on the strategy, of course, to evaluate the need regarding the evolution of the governance of the information system for the IT department, the upskilling program, the capability to understand the environmental impact of IT, and to define the appropriate roadmap. And after that, our conviction is also that all the effort, all the investment, the initiative, the project must be focused on action, must be focused on execution. That's the trickiest point. It is the reason why 80% of our framework through Sustainable IT Foundation to ensure that infrastructure, architecture model, data, AI usage, digital workplace are optimized. Tooling, why tooling? Because you cannot manage your sustainability strategy with a spreadsheet, an Excel file, or whatever. You need tools that will help your teams to have more easily, the appropriate data, and then to have more time for action. It's really key. Eco-design, obviously, for being able to improve, to modernize existing workload, but also what we see, and it's quite normal, within all and every organization, there is a pipeline of new projects, new digital projects. How to ensure that new services will be delivered in an eco-design way. And last but not least, it's part of the cultural movement also, to be sure that step by step, we are able to design the way to have, as a new normal, what we call greenhouse as a service, to ensure the continuous improvement, because sustainability is a continuous improvement. I think that we will see that in details with Stefan. It's really iteration, improvement, moonshot, target, result, etc. And it must be the same within organization. And this structure framework can be turned into a virtuous circle, because the starting point is obviously different from one organization to another. Some have already performed, for example, a move to cloud. So it is time to optimize through modernization of workload, through combination of FinOps and GreenOps. Some have data center obsolescence, so the move to cloud is relevant. Others have a very large fleet of IT equipment to manage end-to-end along all the life cycle. So tooling is very relevant, etc. So it is a virtuous circle. Whatever is the starting point, it creates a positive movement, and it creates the confidence regarding the change, because in front of the climate warning, it's all the sustainability challenge, the best thing to do is to be on the move for being able to manage the change. And in addition to that, we deliver at Devoteam a lot of different projects, not dedicated to sustainable IT or sustainability. It could be a migration factory, a data factory for business, whatever, etc. And it's important for us to embed sustainability in all of what we do. So the first dimension is we deliver the footprint of the delivery team itself, because it's part of the scope 3 for our client. We ensure that we upskill in a continuous manner our Devoteamers with certification on sustainable IT. And we apply and we combine what we call sustainable IT patterns to emit not zero, it's not possible, you always have emission with digital, but to ensure that we emit the least amount of carbon possible into our delivery, thanks to the architecture, the way to code, the way to use, etc., etc. So, as a conclusion, time for action, it's our conviction. This decade is really critical, but must be seen as full of opportunity to make positive, really positive change. It's not only a question of technology, it's also a question of people, of teams, and it's part of the role of an organization to have this continuous flow, continuous learning movement that must include sustainability and sustainable IT. So capability to engage the team on responsible tech practices, to execute targeted action, to create the confidence, and to have concrete results. And to embed, step by step, this sustainable by design as a new normal. And it's really feasible, but it must be a step-by-step approach, starting by targeting the most appropriate, and it can be different from one organization to another, the most appropriate first step, create the success, build the second one, etc., etc. And it's really, really feasible thanks to today's technology that will be demonstrated by Stefan and Jason. Information system could be much less impactful than it is today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the audience?
I stay here so we can have questions
you
later.
can grab during the networking session. And now I would like to invite Stefan Weiss-Panerup, a champion of sustainability at Google. Why you call yourself champion? Tell us more. Sorry?
Fancy title.
Fancy title. Okay, so let's see what you're gonna present for us.
Hi, everyone. Tough crowd, huh? You're gonna meet a lot of new people today, a lot of new faces, and in particular, a lot of new names. So I don't expect you that you're gonna remember mine, so you can just remember me as the flip-flop guy. As it was pointed out already, IT and sustainability are tightly interconnected, and as you know, data centers are consuming a lot of it. That's why it matters what kind of platform, what kind of data center you use for a digital transformation, and that you pick a platform which has sustainability built in from the get-go. Not a lot of people realize that whenever you go to google.com and you make a search, it uses a little bit of electricity, right? But with millions of searches every day, with billions of searches every week, it adds up to trillions of searches every year. And that's just Google search. Google has 9 products with more than 1 billion users each month. That takes a hell of a lot of infrastructure to run that. Just think about Gmail and the billions of emails that are sent back and forth all the time. Because of that, we had to rethink and re-engineer our whole stack from the ground up to make sure it is as efficient and sustainable as possible. We took our first step on our sustainability journey back in 2007, where we became the first major company to become carbon neutral. Now, we're going to use a lot of different sustainability terms already, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here when we talk about carbon neutrality. That means you're balancing your emissions with the absorption of carbon in the atmosphere. Usually this is done by buying offsets, so you can go and you can plant a tree, or you can buy other types of offsets. We prioritize buying high quality offsets where you can actually measure it, because if you just plant a tree, you can't really measure how much CO2 that one is absorbing. But for example, if you're buying an offset which is about avoiding carbon from landfills, you can measure exactly how much carbon that is. That also means that whenever you use our platform or any of our tools, whether it's google.com search, whether it's Maps, or whether it's the Google Cloud Platform, everything you do is carbon neutral from the get-go. If you go in and train the most advanced AI algorithm, it's carbon neutral. So that was the first step that we took on our sustainability journey all the way back in 2007. But offsetting is just one part of it. The best thing is not to emit anything at all, right? So we went down all the way to the hardware level, to the data center level, and re-engineered the customized data center for us. And we've ended up creating a data center that is twice as efficient as a typical data center. And it's across the whole stack. It's both the utilization, it's the cooling, it's the security, you name it. The way this is usually measured is a metric called the PUE, or the power usage effectiveness. And over the last decade, we managed to reduce our PUE all the way down to 1.1. That means for every 1.1 kilowatt hour used, only 0.1 is wasted on overhead tasks like cooling or security or lighting, and the remaining 1 kilowatt hour is actually used for the critical load, the servers, the actual applications. This is in contrast to the industry average of 1.55, which means that every time they use electricity, almost 50% is actually wasted on overhead tasks like cooling or security. The second major step that we took was back in 2017, when we started matching all of our electricity consumption with renewable energy purchases. So that means every time we use a kilowatt hour, we make an equivalent purchase of green electricity. We were also the first major company to achieve this. Now, some people might just say, okay, so what, you're just buying all the green energy in the grid. Well, that's not exactly true, because we're investing in the equivalent amount of green projects all around the world. And this is a snapshot from Northern Europe. Personally, I'm from Denmark. I live half an hour away from one of our data centers in Denmark, which opened a few years ago. And you can see all the yellow circles. Those are solar parks that we invested in Denmark. So from day one, when the data center opened, it was matched with green energy from the get-go. So that was the second major step that we took in our sustainability journey. Looking forward, the goal is for us to become carbon-free 24/7. But what do we mean by carbon-free? This is a visualization of our energy supply for one of our data centers in Iowa for a whole year. On the left side, you can see January 1st, right side, this December 31st. All the green spikes are days where there's plenty of green energy available in the grid. And all the dark areas are days where we had to rely on carbon-based energy sources. So ideally, this should be completely green. Then we would be running on carbon-free energy 24/7 the whole year round. But right now we're not. We publicly share this data so other people can make informed decisions when they use our platform. So this is data from 2022, where you can see, for example, my local data center, Denmark, or the one in Finland. They're very green. In Finland, it was 97%. That means 97% throughout 2022, it was running on green energy, and only 3% of the time, it had to rely on carbon-based energy. But we also share the ones that are not performing so well. For example, Singapore, Taiwan, and Japan. And we're working, and of course, to improving this every single day. We also try to make it more intelligent. So we are shifting workloads between data centers when we can see other data centers have more carbon-free energy. So this is a visualization with a workload in data center 3. You can see it's brown, that means it's carbon-based energy. So we shift it to data center 1, which has more carbon-free energy. And we want to encourage everybody to have a similar approach, to really utilize where there is optimal data centers with carbon-free energy available. Specifically here for Vilnius, if we just look at the closest data centers, there's this website called gcping.com. Sorry, there's not an extra P there. And look at which data centers are closest from here. Then Warsaw comes up, so you can see 26 milliseconds, Frankfurt 39, Zurich 39, and Finland 41 milliseconds. Now, if you have a very, very high, or an application that's very sensitive to a low latency, sure, go for Warsaw. But if you can, you should look at which of these regions are the most sustainable. So we publicly share this and highlight which of these regions are low carbon energy regions. So you can see in Finland, besides the 97%, the local grid carbon intensity is 112 grams per kilowatt hour. So that means for those last 3%, whenever we had to rely on carbon-based energy sources, it was only emitting 112 grams per kilowatt hour, compared to the Warsaw, which was 738. So when you design your platform, when you start your digital transformation, take this into account. Because we want to encourage everybody to make sustainable choices, whether it's their digital platform or whether you're taking a journey with Google Maps. We even make this visibly for the developers when they sit in the platform. So whenever they start a new service, they can go and see like, I should pick this region. And Google is very data-based, right? So we like to do A/B testing of everything we do. And we saw that 90% of the users were more likely to pick a low carbon energy region when they were exposed to it, when they knew, I'm making a sustainable choice. It's about making this information readily available in the moment when a user makes that choice. We also make all of this data readily available so you can use it in your own ESG report. My good friend Jason here is going to get a bit further into that and how you can use that to make actionable insights. Our goal as our next major step in our sustainability journey is to become carbon-free 24/7 by 2030. This is very ambitious, and to be honest, all the technology there is not ready yet, but we're building it day by day. You saw, for example, how we're doing the workload shifting, where we try to be more intelligent in how we run our data centers, but we're also heavily investing in new energy sources. For example, in geothermal energy, because that's ready, available 24/7. When the sun doesn't shine or the wind doesn't blow, then you have a stable source of energy that's green and carbon-free. So that's a little bit about the journey that we've been through, trying to optimize our own stack and become more sustainable along the way. Starting in 2007, where we became carbon neutral, 2017, where we started matching all of our electricity consumption with green energy, and aiming towards carbon-free energy 24/7 in 2030. With that, I'd like to say thank you and ask if there's any questions.
Do we have? Okay.
You presented the numbers of carbon emission, right? So what is the opinion of Google? Which comes first, security in terms of where your data center is, or carbon numbers? Because you can select different data centers, but
Ideally, by 2030, you shouldn't need to worry about that.
before that?
Sure. Security and regulation should always come first. So if you have local data residency laws or anything, you need to adhere to those. But we want to make it, as easy as possible to make the sustainable choice. Often we also recommend to not just by default put everything in the same place. So let's say you have a website, right? That is pretty latency sensitive. So you want to put that closer to your users. But if you have some data processing or some AI training, that could be done anywhere almost, depending on the data that you have available. So really kind of consider it from workload to workloads, which ones can benefit from a low carbon energy reading or high carbon free energy.
So basically, Google does not promote in the first place sustainability, so security comes first, right?
Security comes first.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to say.
Sure.
And I also have a question. So, what are the reasons? Oh, sorry, there was one more?
Yeah.
Okay, I will come the last.
You were speaking about electricity. What about the machines and the infrastructure and other things which are not related to electricity? So, what's the strategy for that?
There's multiple parts to it. There's both the sourcing in making sure that you're utilizing all the newest technologies to make more efficient machines with the same amount of material. Then you have the recycling part. So making sure that it doesn't just go to a landfill or anything like that, but you actually recycle, especially all the special metals and gold and all these different things. And then I would say, last but not least, there's also all the other sources around. So, for example, water or also waste of these type of things. So we're also working hard on reducing both our water consumption, but also making it replenishable. So, for example, we just built a new office building over in Bayview in US, in California, where it's actually water positive. So thanks to both the recycling of the water inside of the building and the collection of all the rainwater, it's ended up becoming water positive instead of using it. So those are some of the focus areas where we're putting in energy, at least.
Okay, my question. My question. I have two mics. What do you think is the reason why in the Nordics, as I saw the map that you showed, your services are greener than, for example, in Singapore or Taiwan? Well, Singapore it's meant to be probably also one of the greenest places. So what do you think are the reasons for that?
Some of it boils down to kind of local infrastructure and regulation and what's available. So, for example, in Finland, we actually have this kind of quite innovative approach where we're using water from the local Gulf to cool down the data center. So that, of course, means we can use less energy on the actual cooling. Whereas if you look more, some of the data centers over in Asia, space is of the essence. So often the building is constructed like multiple stories, and that brings different challenges where we need to use more energy. So it's often this kind of local adjustments that needs to be made.
Do you think those like energy, renewable energy or solar panel energy, are they resilient for any, I don't know, climate actions that might happen?
Resilient in what way?
In any climate thing that, I don't know, thunderstorms, tornadoes, something like that. Are you ready for that?
I mean, we try to be as ready as possible, whether it's both internal, like fires inside the data center, or whether it's flooding or anything like that. Just last week, we had flooding in Denmark, like the highest flooding in some areas for the last 100 years. And they also implemented new regulations saying that whenever you build new buildings, you need to be able to withstand a certain flooding level. I don't think you can ever build anything that is guaranteed for the future. It doesn't matter whether it's solar panels, windmills, or anything like that. So it's very important to diversify. You also saw in Denmark that we mainly built solar panels for our side, because Denmark already has quite a lot of windmills. So it's important to diversify.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stefan. And now it's the turn for Jason Quick, CTO at Google Devoteam Group.
Hi, thanks all. It's quite funny because I'm actually from Singapore, but I live in Sweden right now. So I use the Finland data center. So yeah, so for us, we start to go into details, right, is we have the strategy, we have the vision. Now, how do we actually do it for real, right? How do you build a sustainable IT organization on Google Cloud? And for us, I'm a developer from training, computer science. So we are trained to first observe, understand the current baseline, and then improve of it over iterative movements. So first, we would like to suggest that you can do an assessment of the current carbon footprint of what your IT footprint is today. How many can tell me a number of your entire carbon footprint of your entire IT org, besides the Googler? Yeah. So first thing is to assess, understand your baseline, right? Next is to understand how do you do things like monitoring and advisory. So this is key as well, is if we take a page over from FinOps. In FinOps, when you buy services from the cloud, when there is a bill shock to your CFO, we want to create the same information and a bill shock to your sustainability officer to say, hey, why is my carbon footprint spiking today? And next is to embed sustainability in all phases of IT, all the way from data center exit to eco-design of services, usage of serverless technologies, to optimization as well. And next is optimize and actually support your teams to adopt a sustainable culture. So we heard from Stefan, a really great setup. That's why we really believe in Google Cloud as a good platform for you to build your services on, due to the promises they have on it and the actual action in developing this carbon-free energy sources. And we see that by actually we have actually a tool from Google that enables you to estimate your on-prem system's carbon footprint today based on your location, the energy, the kind of system, CPUs, RAM that you can use. So it's something that you can actually run today with us at Devoteam and Google to calculate based on your current IT setup on-prem, how much carbon footprint actually it is today. And this gives you a great starting point, because when you have the starting point, you can then optimize, you can then improve. Next, we actually help customers set up the carbon footprint on Google Cloud. So you saw the screenshot of that. And we're going to dive more detail into this, because this is kind of a screenshot over your entire bill, your entire Google Cloud environment. But you can dive down deeper to assign ownership and accountability for carbon footprint. Something like, for example, if a developer creates a lot of cost on your cloud, you want them to be accountable for it because they made a design choice to incur that cost. We should also develop the same choice, active choice, in carbon footprint as well. So the normal steps that we do for our clients when we want to do the monitoring piece, if you start up exporting data from carbon footprint data from the calculator into BigQuery, it's a serverless data warehouse on Google Cloud. We start to create sustainability dashboards, because we realize that dashboardings and information has to be targeted to different people. Like, for example, there has to be a different dashboard from your CEO versus to your developers, because they require different kinds of detail. Next, we want to measure actually carbon footprint per architecture. So we make a choice to deploy a virtual machine versus deploying a microservices cluster to deploying a serverless architecture. We want to go in there with understanding what is the cost of the carbon footprint as well. Same thing as you do when you do FinOps, or when you are measuring the scalability, higher availability of your architecture. We want to put that as a factor. Next, we want to embed carbon footprint measurements in the Cloud Center of Excellence. So many of our larger customers, they have what I call the Cloud Center of Excellence, where developers, architects can go to this Center of Excellence and ask for advice and guidance about, hey, if I build this new product in this way, how much will it cost me and how much will it incur in my carbon footprint? Next, we want to create budgets. So budgeting is a unique concept, not really, but in carbon emissions it is. So forcing your teams to actually think about it and have a budget and say that if I run this service, I build it in this way, how much will I incur over the year? Does it make sense? And then we measure the actual versus budget and implement carbon footprint forecasting. So understanding for the whole year how much we incur, and put that into your plan, your business plan as well. So you actually make a difference. So I'm going to jump into two demos here, just really quickly. First is about the carbon usage predictions. So it's really good, it's great. So in Google Cloud, you're able to actually export carbon footprint into BigQuery and then use something like Looker. Looker is the data discovery tool that allows access to data from your developers to understand your monthly carbon footprint, where location is being spent on, and which services actually is costing you the most carbon footprint on. For example, you can see here, we have developers that work on Vertex AI. It's an AI tool by Google, and it's now currently one of the largest consuming carbon footprint. But why? It's because now Gen AI is a big topic for customers and clients, so we have to invest in it. But we're taking an actual knowledgeable step. We're doing it with the known and the means that we're going to do it, rather than incurring it and then coming out and saying, hey, what happened there? And after that, you can also do things like predictions below as well. So understanding as you go along, what's the spikes and how you plan to resolve the curve as well, to see over the year what happens. And you can also do things like assigning ownership. Like for example, if you want to dive deeper into the person that incurred the most carbon footprint as well, you're able to label your projects, understanding who has then incurred it and increased over the year. So you can see that, for example, I have, you just like do this. You can see that, for example, I have my chief of data that actually has been trying out with data with ML services, and you can see that there is an increasing cost of the carbon footprint as you go along. So you assign a budget, you assign accountability to your developers, to your engineers, and your teams, so that it goes into the decision process when they're building something. And so we've come up with things like sustainability dashboards as well. So like overviews, we can link together your product, your project, and the evolution of your monthly CO2 footprint. We can actually assign tickets to teams that we see that, hey, there's an increase. Let's fix it now before it spirals out of control. And create a ticket and say, hey, your next sprint, we're going to focus on then minimizing carbon footprint for this service. Because observing is the first step to actually taking action. And next, you can then produce this and present it to your board, your CEO, say, hey, we are doing real actions, optimization month to month to actually fix the problem. And actually, we really care about our carbon footprint on Google Cloud. This also was a very good case study as well. We did it with Strawberry. They run a chain of Nordic Choice hotels. So they actually have on-prem data centers today. And so this was a great way in to figure out. We did a scan of their entire asset inventory on-prem. So you can do that with tools from Google and with Devoteam. And then we figure out in which regions to place the virtual machines to move them to the cloud and figure out the target CO2 footprint that they can do, they will impact when they move to the cloud. And you can measure that versus your on-prem calculator, which means you can justify to your business the reason for the move to the cloud in actual carbon footprint terms as well, which is a great use case. And also we believe a lot in sustainability training, like what Hervé mentioned. So we actually train all our G-Cloud consultants in multi-week courses about different things like sustainable IT, how do you measure it, grams per kilowatt of carbon produced, the circular economy, best practices in sustainable IT. So things like serverless architecture, region selection, device management, setting targets, and things like this. And also implementing different tools they can find open source today into your DevOps pipelines to understand when you do a Terraform plan, what is the emissions that you're going to create when you do that Terraform apply, and you create that new cluster or that new virtual machine. I also want to jump a little bit. This is a great video by these two great guys from Carrefour and L'Oreal. And actually, I also want to jump to this slide. Oops, sorry. Okay, I'll just check. They showed a slide based on the shared responsibility model, which is that Google is responsible for the net zero and the emissions on their data centers. You, as a cloud consumer, are responsible for how you design the services to consume the carbon footprint from the data centers. So it's all about shared responsibility to work together with Google and Google Cloud to deploy it in a way that minimizes your carbon footprint. And they also did a nice comparison where you can see that from when you use something like EAS, which is a virtual machine, you can see the carbon footprint versus a serverless container as a service. So like Imentas talked about hosting a website, a virtual machine versus a serverless container, and you can see the big difference, 15 versus 190. So this is just design choice that developers can actually impact to reduce their carbon footprint. Yep, and we start to embed sustainability in all parts of our G-Cloud work with all our clients, all 2,600 of them, all the way from cloud foundations, data foundations, look adoption, Vertex AI. So it goes into consideration when we build up a new data foundation or a new cloud foundation. Because we see that when we modernize the data center, there is different parts. You normally lift and shift parts of it, you add more parts of it, and lift something on-prem. So we want to make sure when we do this journey with our clients, we make sure they get the best out of we do the best for environment as well. That's the goal. And with that, that's my part. Thanks.
Much. Do we have questions from the audience?
Questions?
If not, you can always find Jason
Okay,
during
thanks.
the networking session. And Jason, don't run away because now we're going to have a panel discussion. I just will ask for a second to wait while we're going to put chairs here for our esteemed speakers. No. Well, you can start coming. Eimantas, Herve, Stefan, and Jason, please come back to the stage. It's okay, we have that a little. I feel very proud to be in such a team with these men, experts. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Lady in the room. So here we are to discuss about how we drive this sustainability in digital transformation and what the future we're gonna see. So you all were talking a lot about sustainability in IT, sustainability in digital transformation. Just to start with that, could you please, like, shortly in one sentence, tell me, so what is that sustainable IT? Herve, starting from you.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset and it's expertise. A mindset to answer the needs, okay, regarding a digital service, an activity, a project, whatever, a run phase in the IT lifecycle. And with the appropriate expertise and the appropriate mindset to emit the least amount of carbon possible. That's a simple answer. After that, as we have seen, is not always that easy.
It's not a simple
answer. It is a change. And it is a change not only for IT, but this is also an opportunity for IT department and CIOs. It is a change, and a positive one, regarding the way you work, the way you interact as a sustainable digital business partner in your organization with the business function, with the general management, with all the connected employees in your organization. And it creates really a positive evolution in terms of we have to learn how to see a little bit differently this digital world, because it's critical, because it's essential for all and every businesses, and we have to take care of that.
I think we need another one event about the digital sustainable IT mindset from Herve. Thank you very much. Eimantai, what is sustainable IT for the governmental institutions? What do you see there?
As I told already, example that's maybe not sustainable example, but basically it's not about government or the business. There is not much big difference. Maybe from what I see, it's just in the government maybe bigger extremums, but the patterns of inefficiency or efficiency are the same. So there is not like a big difference for me. Even my friend was working in startup and he was telling the stories and told you working in ministry, I see the same patterns of inefficiency. So that does not change much. But as I told, IT is basically the goal is to be more efficient, more digitalization of processes. and also the infrastructure. So that's just do things right, learn and change, learn, change, and and you'll be sustainable.
Jason, what's your
I
opinion?
think it's necessary. It's something that people have learned how to do. It's just part of the daily life now, and have to be embedded into the day-to-day work, I'll say.
Stefan. I already see some great idea is coming.
I would say there's two parts to it. One is the sustainability of your own IT operations, and that's what we talked a lot about today. So I'm not going to touch more about that right now. But then there's the other part, which is about using technology to be more sustainable. We have multiple examples for that, both with customers but also ourselves. One of the most recent ones is something we call Project Greenlight. So I don't know how many here loves to sit at a red light and waiting for traffic and traffic jams. But we've been working with cities around the world to actually optimize the flow of traffic inside of cities and by adjusting the traffic lights. So we've used a lot of the insights and data that we have from Google Maps together with a lot of the AI technologies and experts that we have to essentially optimize the traffic lights flow. And that is one way of using the technology and using AI to optimize the real world and thereby optimizing the flow of traffic and essentially the use of gasoline and thereby avoiding emissions.
So is it also that this mindset of sustainable IT should also go to the customers, and the customers should also have this mindset about sustainable IT? What do you think?
Yes, it's essential. We all have a role to play in this area. The very, very large infrastructure and service provider as Google. Us at Devoteam as professional services expert on delivery for our client and the client, the organization, because more or less in Europe, all and every organization are committed in front of climate warming. They have public commitment. If we listen carefully, the most advanced CSR, ESG, sustainability leader within a large European organization or worldwide organization, they recognize that for this decade and for being able to achieve this commitment properly before 2030, and as explained by Stefan, is not that obvious, and all solution does not exist yet. Nevertheless, progress are possible. And you have to onboard everybody. You have to onboard everybody within your organization and all your ecosystem. So it's a collective and cooperative movement.
Herbert and Stefan, yes, you talked a lot about investing and doing projects towards sustainability. So I would like to ask both of you the same question. So why not being sustainable is more actually expensive today? Herbert.
I really think, one more time, when you listen carefully, the most advanced CSR leader, sustainability may have a cost. Being not sustainable, the cost will be in the coming months or years. It's not after tomorrow. It's during this decade. Will be much more higher. So for many, many reasons, so I will try to be short. A very simple one, I do not have crystal ball, but you need energy and resources, especially for being able to do IT, and non-renewable resources. The chance to have lower and always lower price for energy and non-renewable resources, I will say, I will not bet on that. The price will be higher and higher. So if you do nothing, your information system will cost more and more by design. That's a first area. Another area of risk is, let's consider for an organization point of view, all your stakeholders. Could be your consumer, could be your customer, could be your employee, of course, the capability to attract talent, the geographies, the countries and the city of your operation, all your stakeholders. What will be the behavior of these stakeholders if you are not sustainable. You should say, okay, I don't care. Climate warning, I don't care. I do not have positive result on that, I don't care. Well, it will cost a lot for an organization.
Stefan,
From my point of view.
thank you. Stefan, does Google count at how much it would cost not to be sustainable? Did you have these numbers, or because you invest now a lot, right, in different projects in
Yeah.
renewable energy? So what is your opinion on this question?
We haven't taken the other approach of considering what would it be not to be sustainable, because it's always been a priority from the beginning. It's really from, we were founded 25 years ago, and it's always been a priority, and that's also why we already prioritized becoming carbon neutral in 2007, like started all the way back then. You see a lot of other companies only now start talking about becoming carbon neutral, where we've been for many, many years. So we never considered it as an option not to be sustainable in that sense.
Okay, that's a mindset actually, right?
That is very much a mindset, and it's very much from top down, sponsorship all the way up from C-level, from the managers, encouraging everybody to be more sustainable and thinking it into the way they develop products or how they expose it to our end users, and what kind of sustainable features you can make to enable the end users to be more sustainable as well.
Okay, thank you. Eamon, you see...
No, just see, I say it really makes sense for any kind of organization, private or public sector, to work on what is my landing zone for a safe operating model that will respect the planetary boundaries, period. That's a journey, that's a job to perform in terms of transformation and change, but at the end of the game, there's the target. What is the right safe operating model that will respect the planetary boundaries?
Yeah, and talking about from the governmental perspective, Eamon,
I'll talk maybe from my perspective that sustainability is actually a really expensive thing, because as a humans we made a mistake when we found the plastic, and we think, wow, it's a cheap way, to pack the things. It's not a cheap way. It's one of the most expensive ways we ever had, because our kids will pay for that. And when we say, what's the price between being sustainable or not sustainable, it's a question who will pay, either you or your kids. That's the question should be. And it's really nice to see the companies that understanding that before that, after it will be too late. Maybe it will be too late anyway, but doesn't matter. That you'll be at least honest that you've done everything.
And Eamon, from the governmental perspective, what are you ready to do as a political and governmental institution in order to support this leadership that companies like Devoteam or Google are showing in the ecosystem, in the market?
Sitting here and saying you're doing a great job, guys.
Yeah, because sometimes it seems that it's a lack of leadership in the governmental area, in the governmental context.
It's always, I guess, all the governments will be lack of leadership about the things that are long-lasting and lasting longer than one, cabinet members be in the politics. So that's always, I see a business that should lead such a things, and the government should be open for that things. Maybe not leading, but giving the chance. And what we're small but agile country, and always welcome people, and especially the businesses that wants to do something, or either they need the data to do some pilots. What we do, we just do not say go to that institution. We just assign the person that will go to that institution, but will help for a business to get the data or get something done if we see both that it's a value for the country or for the nature. So at least this government is open, and we talk a lot about with the Darius, and I know if we will find the ways to help, we're always in.
So the demand should come from the businesses, right?
Yes, I do not. It should come from the government, but I I suggest do not depend on them. Just do what you need and look for the ways and push them. So and I always what I told talk with the politics publicly. Write, not go privately and say something, but write in the newspaper, write in the social media, and that's the way how the conversation begins.
So from the governmental mindset, Jason, going to the business mindset, and I would like to ask you about the company's culture. What should be changed? What behavior should be applied in the company's culture in order to reach better results? Because I'm sure that it's not only algorithm and bytes and technologies, it's also people who are doing those technologies, people who create, people who are driving the sustainability topic?
That's a good point. I'm a millennial. Nowadays, we're hiring Gen Z people. And Gen Z people don't see it as a job anymore. They see it as a career, right? So when they want to start a company, first of all, they have to want to build something, a company they believe in, right? They have to be a part of something, and they want to make a difference. And so having a very strong focus, building a business that you truly can be proud of is something different. You know what I mean? That you can say that, hey, I was part of building this thing that had these really great goals and want to make a difference in the world. And I think this is something that's key, that resonates throughout the culture and the people they will hire at Devoteam. And yeah, and it inspires them, to take the next day forward and continue to innovate and find ways to like improve.
Stefan, I'm sure you have what to comment about the Google mindset, right? Because it started really long ago. So what behavior do you have in the company's culture, and what people are driven by?
Did I turn this off? No, it still works. I think it's very much empowering and encouraging the people to make the sustainable choice when possible. So whenever you start anything new within sustainability, it's always expensive. I mean, if you look at the cost of, for
And
example,
everybody's lost probably. Right?
yeah, exactly. Like, look at solar panels, right? The cost for installing solar panels just 10 years ago was massive compared to now, and it's much cheaper. And it's the same if you do renewable energy purchase or anything else. So it's very much about encouraging and empowering the sustainable choice, even though it might not always make sense from a money perspective on the short term.
Hervé, maybe you have something to add from your perspective. Or Ayman, that's how to encourage people from governmental institutions. Maybe we should organize a workshop, about that, how to push that mindset in these institutions, or people already have maybe.
Yeah, I'm glad to think that government can make such a big impact. Of course, it can, but it's about how people. You can make many of these workshops on, or even force the law that we should be all sustainable, but it does not work like this. It should be. It should come from the people, from the nation. Government can support that. Government could show the directions, but if the people are against that, it's quite hard to know.
And it's the reason why there is a key role within enterprise. It's quite a unique situation. We all of us are at work in a way, and during our learning journey before working in enterprise, it was not taken into account at all. That's life. It's just an observation, and it is a key role within an enterprise, whatever is the sector, to be a learning company and to promote continuous learning and continuous upskilling, whatever is the function, business function, support function, etc. And it's a fantastic mission of enterprise to perform this continuous learning. That is really important on the sustainability axis, because one more time, you have to onboard everybody. And it is a positive onboarding.
So I think you should add a label or close to your logo, on a mission. Stefan.
Can I also just add that another important thing that both organizations and government can do can also be to just that sustainability is the default choice. And you have to actively pick something else if you want to move away from it. Because sometimes it's also just the inertia that is too big for people to really change. But if it's the default choice, they're going to go with it.
And also interesting as well, so Hervé touched the idea of education. So for myself, when I started doing this training on sustainable architectures, I didn't realize a few key concepts about green software. Like for example, if you build a data pipeline today and you consume as much data as you scale up your servers, and you consume much more data at one go, it actually goes against the green software pattern, because you're supposed, if the data is not highly sensitive to time, you should actually piece it out to create a steady flow of usage of compute over the day, and that creates a more reliable data usage pattern and also creates a lower carbon footprint. I didn't know that until I started doing the education, certifications on green software patents. So I really encourage anyone from a tech point of view to do that certification as well. It's on Linux Foundation, green software practitioners, just to understand a little bit about different anti-patents, we call it.
Amos, want to add something?
Maybe just I think it will come to sustainability, but quite slowly, little by little. And for me, it's quite a good example that, like, I don't know, several years ago, that everyone had at home illegal Microsoft Windows, but that was fine for Microsoft because at work they were already asking to work with Windows. And that's the same with sustainability. You have to do little by little at home. Like today, I had like some clothes, but I could not sell on Vinted. So I just brought, and there are special containers for them. I left it there. And I could not imagine that 10 years ago, even though there were two options for me, sell on Vinted, you sell something, what you can, and everything else you put somewhere it belongs, and maybe they will make something new. And this little by little, or I started after working 1 year in the Ministry of Environment, I started to buy cups, one cup, and I stopped to buy these multiple cups, single use of plastic cups. So that's, and I see in myself, I'm still not a very sustainable person, but step by step, I am going somewhere to that
But
direction.
the Ministry of Environment made an impact for you.
Yes,
you say that governments are not doing impact. They did.
Psychological push I got in the beginning, I would say.
Okay, guys, I want to move to another question about newest technology, AI. And I would like to ask you, what is one current challenge in implementing sustainable solutions that will benefit most from the introduction of AI? Hervé.
Wow. The current tsunami buzz, what you want. Tricky question. No, but first level of generic answer. One more time, and it's highly true for the digital sector, digital world. There is buzz, there is acceleration in a quite unique pace in the human history. And there is a technical system on one side. We know, we have some experts that are able to explain in a clear manner what is this technical system, AI, Gen AI, etc. And the real, after that, it is a technical system. It is a tool. And there is a usage system. What do we want to do with that? So it's impossible to answer to your question, because if we do, let's say, just funny things and gaming at scale for billions of people with that, we will have a sustainability issue. And at the opposite, and I think that Google has a demonstration of that in terms of data center optimization using AI a few years ago, that have reduced the energy consumption and optimization of data center. It's this kind of pattern, always the two sides of the coin. And it's a question of balance, it's a question of volume, it's a question of scale. So there is no easy answer, but the answer will not come the technical system. A tool is a tool. The answer will come from us, all together. Let's have a debate.
Jason, you showed us IT architecture maps, and then probably AI is it's a lot of consumption of energy. So from your perspective, how that could help, or if it's more challenging, introducing AI?
This is a great point, because right now we are in this kind of arms race or developing AI. A lot of companies kind of trying to attack the problem at the same time. And that creates a lot of unnecessary consumption of resources. For example, if you can use a pre-trained model, do that instead of training your own foundational model, which takes 100 times to do. Use a service on the cloud that enables you to hit the problem faster. So these small steps allows you to not reinvent the wheel, so you can move faster, as well as also be more sustainable, I would say. So we need more collaboration instead of treating it as a zero-sum game, where you can build on top of each other rather than trying to come up with that unique idea and doing the same things over and over again at the same time.
Stefan, from the Google perspective, we all use Brad right now. You use it, right? Generative AI. So what is your comment or idea about?
I would say more maybe my personal point of view is that a fool with a tool is still a fool. And with that I mean that sure you can be really really good at AI, but if you don't have that domain knowledge and coming from all of us, then you can't really apply it to optimize it, right? So in our case, we're very good with traffic and we're very good with AI, so we could work on these trafficking problem and stuff like that. But I mean, I also know some AI, but let's say that I want to use it to optimize the energy consumption in a building. I don't know anything about energy optimizations in building or any consumption in buildings. So one of the biggest challenges is definitely this cross between domain-specific knowledge and deep technical knowledge. But I think that's also very much an opportunity, especially for startups, to go in and address those very specific areas and specialize in those with the combination of the domain knowledge together with the AI.
Thank you. Ayman, at the beginning of our discussion, he mentioned, that government can support and push. So where do you see collaboration with the businesses, and what could be done? Also, it's a question for the guys coming from the business side and for Ayman, in the next, I don't know, year or half a year or let's say, I don't know, maybe decade, that in order to achieve those sustainability goals and in order to work even closer.
Okay, so basically, it's how to make the impact for business. It's always I think it's the way for to publicly do something, open some data. Like I started for this Unicorns LT platform or just other platforms, where you just open take the open data, connect it together, and show something that was not visible before. But government has a lot of data, a lot. Even though a lot of it's not, it's quite a mess, but there is still a data. So, for example, all the waste management, we have all the data that all the companies are filling it, how many waste, where, what kind of waste, and so on, and fixing it. Like opening this and asking the businesses to make some tools for sustainability indexes would make an impact, for business to be on the among the top players, not among the and the bottom. So that's one of the kind of impact the government could make. And we are working on that to understand what kind of data we have, because also some processes are quite complicated. And
so you're still lost.
I could not like lost, but what we do is simplify the processes to gather the data, because sometimes publicly government makes quite complicated process to gather the data. It means you cannot trust the data. So by making it very simple, you can kind of increases the trustability of the data. So that's what a lot of directions we're doing, but we see the way to make an impact through the open data.
Herwa, what governmental or institutions or other businesses could do, in order for your company to help to reach your goals?
Yeah, I think it really makes sense to make the relevant data available, because in this area especially, and it's especially true for the IT sector, it's a little bit difficult today to speak the same language, due to the lack of sharing, the lack of common methodology from one cloud service provider to another, etc., etc. It's a question of maturity. It takes time. But opening the data and build the convergence to speak the same language will help all and every kind of organization, for sure. For sure, so I'm a big sponsor of that. And we start to see in some businesses some consortium of different kind of enterprise working in the same sector, working together to open the key data on sustainability, for being able to have the same language, for example, for what is the product carbon footprint of this physical equipment, and etc., for being able to also to have a much more efficient transparency in front of customers and consumers, for example, and government, for sure. And it can create a virtuous loop between public institutions and private businesses also.
Stefan, how you see that collaboration in between businesses, other companies like your partners and governmental institutions? How do you see this collaboration, how it could flourish this sustainability goals?
I would say one part is definitely the part about data and sharing that and making it actionable for everybody. Whether that is waste management data, whether that is the carbon footprint of a product, that will empower everybody to make more informed decisions. Whether that goes against or with sustainability, that's a different discussion. But I think another part of it is also coming together and utilize the knowledge and the insights we have. Whether that is insights within AI or whether that is insight within certain specific industries. I mean, Devoteam has a lot of knowledge within different industries that can be utilized in order to go in and optimize with those. So it's partly sharing actual data, and then it's also about helping each other with knowledge of where does it make sense to optimize.
Jason, what do you think? What could be your contribution to these partnerships and these collaborations?
I think we're trying to solve a problem that is requires everyone to work together to solve. One thing from a software developer point of view, at least from a tech side, normally I like to have goals to hit, right? So actionable goals like targets is something that I can optimize for. I can embed into my day-to-day working. Like for example, having if a customer comes to tell me I need to meet the SLA of this financial service of 99.99, I know what to do. I know that I need to load balance it against 2 regions. I need to write services. Now, what if the target is then to minimize carbon consumption footprint of a certain level? And what about ranking the companies that do it well? Things like that instead of market cap, have a ratio of that. Things like that will, gamification is something that a lot of tech side people love as well. So.
And for the closing remarks, I don't ask you to make us a promises. Okay, even in this audience, I don't ask. But I would like to hear how you see your company or yourself as an expert in this field, and what future you foresee. I don't know, after 1 year, what could be done for the better future in 1 year, in 5 years. So don't give promises, but just let's see what could be done. Herbert or Stefan. I don't know which side to choose.
Within my company?
Yes, within.
There is, to be
there are a lot of people from your company.
To be very transparent,
so be careful.
there is one. I started at Devoteam in January this year, and I am very proud of one milestone. There is plenty of milestones, but one in September during our Sustainable Development Month, we have launched our learning program and certification regarding sustainable IT. And we have had a debate internally regarding the pace of scaling. And I'm very proud of the decision to have 3,000 Devoteamers certified before the end of this year and 100% next year. And because it's the people's side, it's so important. And it's quite unique. So I'm proud of that. And I hope it will amplify our impact when we deliver IT solution. Positive impact, I mean.
Amos, what impact are you aiming for in the 1 year, 5 year?
I know, to teach kids maybe a little bit more about sustainability. So I don't have like a big goals, as I told. I see it's like a process and a mindset, and it does not change fast. And so step by step, so doing impact on myself and trying to do, on the kids or maybe on opening the data and see how it goes. So also might be a goal.
Jason?
For me, is embedding it as one of the key metrics. So right now when I create a Jira task for doing a task or a feature, building a feature, they will ask how fast do you want to run it, how scalable you want it to be, how secure you want it to be, how much you want it to cost. I want it to be also carbon footprint as one. How much you want to cost in terms of carbon footprint. If the developers, engineers, and consultants can think about that at least they're thinking about it. I think that will be really a great achievement for me. Yeah.
Stefan, so what next we can expect from Google?
I mean, in the short term, we have a lot of different projects. And I mean, right now, very kind of recent, Definitely scaling of this project Greenlight. I mean, maybe we could even bring it here to Vilnius. Wink, wink.
Eye on you.
But which project?
The project Greenlight of optimizing traffic flow.
I got a signal 2 days ago about this. I saw the movie, but we still have some issues with Google on another project, Stefan. So
Okay, let's fix that one
we
first.
want to make a maps, inside the buildings, and the Google doesn't somehow they're rejecting our initiative. So that's I guess discussion after the event.
Sure, over a glass
But
of wine.
we're
that
in,
works,
we're
right?
in. But first we have to do something before. Yeah.
Sounds good. So that's definitely in the
Sounds
short term.
challenging, right?
But then, of course, in the long term, our commitment of running on carbon-free energy 24/7, that's our long-term plan, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. It was really interesting discussion, and I hope you really liked it. And probably you will all understand that digital transformation is the key driver for sustainable future, for sustainable goals, and only all together working and sharing not only the data, not opening the data, but opening the mindset and sharing the mindset and empowering and encouraging people, we can reach much more. So thank you very much for coming. And now it's a time for networking. And everybody can also try these gifts from Devoteam. So please, don't go home without them.
You too.
It's a plant. It's a plant. It's a basil, chili pepper. What else we have?
And I told that
Yeah,
we have
grow
one
cube
guy that's
and
responsible for this
oh
project.
yeah, chili peppers. Peppermint. Who likes peppermint? So you can grow.